بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد ربي شرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربنا زدنا علما يا كريم. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al Mulk, as we said, Surah Al Mulk is entirety of the surah. The main focus is for us to understand Allah's power, right? Allah's dominion, Allah's absolute qudra on everything, things that people deny and things that are obvious as our skies and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, go and check out everything that Allah has created. And when you are tired, يَنْقَلِبْ إِلَيْكَ الْبَصَرِ, your eyesight is going to come back, خَاسِئًا, it's going to be super humbled, وَهُوَ حَسِيرٌ, and it'll be fatigued, it'll be tired to find a flaw in Allah's creation, you will not be able to. Then Allah refers you to His creation. And He says, وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا, indeed we have beautified the sama, the sky of this dunya, بِمَصَابِيحِ, بِمَصَابِيحِ referring to lamps, i.e. what? The stars that we see. وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينَ, and we have made these stars as missiles for shayateen. وَأَعْتَدْنَا لَهُمْ عَذَابَ السَّعِيرِ, and we have indeed prepared for these shayateen a very severe torment. Just the fact that this shihab, or this, shihab, فَأَتْبَعَهُ شِهَابٌ ثَاقِبٌ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about it in another ayah, that, whenever any of these person, وَمَيَّسْ بِزِينَةٍ الْكَوَاكِبِ وَحِفْظًا مِّن كُلِّ شَيْطَانٍ مَارِدٍ, that we have protected the sky with every single wandering shaitan. Okay, and if any one of them, they steal something, فَأَتْبَعَهُ شِهَابٌ ثَاقِبٌ, that a blazing star follows this shaitan. Question for you, why doesn't the sky run out of stars? If there are so many shayateens and the angels are throwing all the time, why is there still so many stars? Huh? The universe keeps on growing, that's one answer. What else?
Shihab is not the same as the star itself.
Beautiful. Beautiful. They're two separate things. So the star, when it's thrown, it has a blazing tail. But when it's thrown, it doesn't disappear. Right? It's still there. It's the shihab, it's the blazing fire of it when it's in extreme motion that causes the pain and the burning. But when the shaitan is gone or it's burned, then, or if it runs away, then the shihab is still there. Then the sky, the star still is intact. It's still intact.
Like the missiles that we have now.
Not like the missiles we have, exactly. So they're recyclable missiles, mashallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created that. Now, for us, about the stars, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran has, what is the purpose of stars? Allah has given us three purposes. One of them is this. What are the other two?
Beautify the sky.
Sure, that's that's for us to observe. But one of the purposes, shihabun thaqib. Somebody else? Okay, so that you navigate in the middle of the night. Okay, third? No. Navigate in the Quran. Allah has given us three things. No, purpose. One is shaitan is hit with it. The second is that they are a source of guidance, right? They are a source of guidance for us. What's the third one? It's not a, well, you can say it's a purpose, but it's not a functional purpose. What's the third one? Think about it. We all, huh? No. It's the constant reminder for us. It's a tadhkira for us the insignificance of ours. Every time we look at that star, we realize how insignificant we are. Now, if anybody comes and tells us any other purposes other than the ones Allah has mentioned, such as astrologers, you are what today? You are Capricorn. انت ابراج ايش وبرج ايش واليوم يعني you're gonna drink some hot water and then you're gonna have a beautiful food after because you can smell food entire in this building. I was telling her, you come, it's like smells really good today. I don't know what they have, but then afterwards it may just be a smell. You know, you never know. Maybe. So I come in and so all of these things, Capricorn, Scorpio, Patani Virgo, what are you? And then reading those astrologers and all of that. All of this, if anybody tells us anything, right? كذبنا. We say jhoot. It's all a lie. Just don't bother us with this. Right? So any type of purpose of any creation of Allah other than what Allah tells us, if Allah has told us that I created this and this is the purpose, then we are limited to that purpose. We are not allowed to create a fourth purpose or fifth. But there are many things Allah has not told us the purpose. And that's why we have science. And that's why we're discovering things every single day and we're figuring things out. We may create a theory that, the star does this and it balances the theory and all of that stuff. Unless Allah tells us who is our Khaliq of the Sama, we cannot say yes, we cannot say no. It's like, you know what? It's okay. But if then anybody changes any form of our aqidah or introduces any form of, that, Suraya, the star Suraya has come out and Cyrus star has come out. And since it's out, we cannot go out today because it's going to be a very cold night and all of this, any type of this stuff, then we simply say that, you know what, we don't take any of that. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Allah has created for these shayateen adab as-sa'ir, very, very adab, punishment, as-sa'ir, that is a blaze. And we talked about that sa'ir last time, that it is that fire. In Urdu we say khanakti hui aag, that you can hear the sounds of, the tuck, 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 tuck. You can hear the sounds of the fire that is happening. And he has a video that he can show you afterwards, of like that sound that comes from that fire. وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ. This punishment is not only for the shayateen. This wow is, and the punishment is also for those لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, those who did kufr بِرَبِّهِمْ, of their Rabb. عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمْ, for them is a torment of Jahannam. وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ, and how wretched is their destination. These are individuals who spend their lives in one of the most, they spend their lives in most beautiful destinations that you can think of. They had beautiful cars, they had amazing rides. That's why Allah is doing tashbih of destination, that how wretched is their rides to their destination. Bi'sa al-masir, that yes, they were enjoying their life and they were having momentary joyfulness by disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single stop of their life. In this part and this part, and disobeying Allah, and with these women and that woman, and drinking and all of that. Subhanallah, like the other day, I was in South Carolina this weekend, and I was talking to a parent and a teenager. We were having this conversation and stuff like that. So the child was like, you're excessively putting religion on me and this and that and stuff like that. And then he exposed the father in the conversation, the child. And he said, yeah, just like you, right? After you pray the Eid Salah, the first place you go to is the bar to drink your Jack Daniels, right? Ajib. Subhanallah. This father who's trying to bringing his son to me so that he can be more religious. And he doesn't pray. So the child exposed the father that, don't blame me for munafiqat or nifaq. You are the bigger one, because, as soon as Ramadan happens, just like you, after Eid Salah, the first thing you do is you go with your friends to a bar so you guys can have your Jack Daniels. Right? So destination, that's why Allah is like, they're enjoying their life. And the imagery over here is that they are in their journeys, forgotten about whatever is happening in the world, but Allah is like, they don't know what awaits them. Bi'sal masir. What a wretched destination that awaits them. My Sheikh, a really good friend of mine, Sheikh Dawood, he was a chaplain at one of the hospitals. And I mentioned this story, I think, in my lectures before. He entered and said, this person is dying, right? Like we get these calls all the time. The other day, I think last weekend, I got a call, 34-year-old kid in Emory. We got a call from the spiritual life department. She called me and she said, this patient, the word they use is this patient is actively dying, which means that like he's going to die in the next 2-3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Like he's on the process of death. It's just a matter of like few hours and he's going to be dead, right? 34-year-old, right? Similarly, my sheikh, my friend, he went in the masjid and they got a call and said there's an active patient who's actively dying. So he goes to this auntie and says to her that say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. These are your last moments of this world. And she turns to him and she said, I will never forgive Allah. So he's like, auntie, don't say this. Like, Allah is very ghafoor. He's like, Allah has never done anything good for me in this life. And when I meet him, I'm going to explain to him every single abuse that Allah has done in my life. And at the point, the sheikh is like, there's no point because the more I speak, the more negative she's going to be. And she's going to dig herself a very big grave. He's like, the sheikh is like, I stepped foot outside the room and the heart line just went like that. So many times we may see people that seem to be enjoying their life, but their final destination, وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ, how wretched is the destination that they're headed in this dunya, and when they die, the sad reality is you're not able to change this destination. Now, what is their destination? Jahannam. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِذَا أُلْقُوا فِيهَا, i.e. Jahannam, when they are going to be thrown in it. Now here's the thing. The imagery over here that Allah is saying, that when they are going to be not like, okay, they're coming and they're walking towards Jahannam, right? So there's the first scene where Ibn al-Qayyim says that أهل النار يساقون إلى الجهنم مسيرة 30,000 عاما. They will be driven to Jahannam, and their walking just to Jahannam is going to be 30,000 years. Why? Because it is going to increase in that punishment. Because it's going to be mental torture. They're going to see Jahannam. سَمِعُوا لَهَا شَهِيقًا وَتَغَيُّزًا. They will be able to hear the screams and the angers of Jahannam. And so they're able to see this is a huge creation of Allah, and every step that they're taking, they're getting closer to Jahannam. But when they get to Jahannam, as the hadith mentions, Prophet ﷺ said that خلقت الجهنم كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الجهنم لها 70,000 زمام. That the Jahannam is a creation of Allah, and it has how many reins? 70,000 reins. How many angels are in every reign? 70,000 angels. That's more than 14 billion angels. Right? 14, more than what humans live in this world. That are just holding Jahannam. And when Jahannam is going to see these people that are going to be the dwellers of Jahannam, may Allah protect us from that. They're going to see the dwellers of Jahannam. They're not going to be like, open the door and tafaddal. Ulqu fiha. I.e. the angels are going to grab one by one each one and they will toss them. Jao, your turn, your turn. They'll be thrown. Ulqu fiha. Yani, alqa shay means that I grab something and I throw it on the ground. Ulqu fiha. That they will be tossed, flinged into Jahannam. Ulqu fiha. Why? Because they would be forcing not to go in. Think about it. They're like, no, 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 no. So finally the angel's like, go. You're done. Next person, done. Next person, done. Each person will be thrown into hellfire. As they're going to be thrown, and this has multiple meanings, and I'll explain all. سَمِعُوا لَهَا شَهِيقًا. They're going to hear. Shahiq is this huge, loud sound of inhaling when you hear the lion roar. right? Shahaqatil asad. That that sound that you hear of the deep inhalation that trembles the ground. سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور, and it's boiling up. It's boiling up. The so it's like seeing an animal that is ready to attack. So سمعوا لها شهيقا, three meanings. One is that from 70,000 years, from 30,000 years of walking, they are going to be able to hear that sound, right? In another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about that. That when they're going to see, they will be able to hear the screams of Jahannam. Out of the anger that these people disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I can't wait to put my hands on each one of you. How dare you disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second meaning is that when they're going to be thrown, as soon as they're going to be thrown in it, out of this satiation that it has, Jahannam, it says what? وَهَلْ مِن مَزِيد? Is there any more people left, Allah? Can I get more people? At that point, it is going to scream out of this satiation that it took care of every person that disobeyed Allah. The third meaning of that is when these people are going to see Jahannam and they are going to be flinged in it, they will all scream, and Jahannam will be filled with the screams of all of the creation that has disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all of these meanings, they don't have any conflict, so they all apply. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that day. Right? As for example, in another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Jahannam has في سورة أنبياء سمعوا لها شهيقا. They're going to hear shahiqan. And حصب جهنم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also talks about this, right? That you're going to have this Jahannam, which is going to have a face. It's going to have a face. It's going to look like, and that's why it's also called Jahim. Because Jahim, the Arabs, they usually say Jahim al-Asadu. When a lion, it locks its eyes on a prey, and you can see the rage and the blood that is shot in the eyes of that lion, and it is hidden in this state of ambush, but its eyes are filled with anger. That state, the Arabs, they used to describe, and they would say, Jahim al-Asadu. Jahim al-Asadu. And from there is Jahim. So it is going to have a face, and it is going to be waiting as a prey waits, because that's why you're going to need all of these angels to hold on to it. Otherwise, it would eat everything. As another hadith, it's a da'if hadith, but it gives you a imagination of it. That Prophet ﷺ said that, if it was let go and these angels were not there, it would not leave barrin wala fajir. Jahannam would eat alive good and bad people. Like, it's such a wild beast. Cannot be controlled. Allahumma ajirna min an-nar ya Rabb. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تَكَادُ تَمَيَّزُ مِنَ الْغَيْظِ. As if the other descriptions were not enough, that it will take the scream, this inhaling. Another ayah in the Quran, Allah says, لَهُمْ فِيهَا زَفِيرٌ وَشَهِيقٌ. That in Jahannam there's going to be this scream that is going to be so high pitched, that zafir is a scream that is so high pitched that it bursts a person's ear. That sound, coupled with the inhalation, a deep bass sound of Jahannam, all of that combined. وَهِيَ تَفُورٌ, and it is boiling up, but that's not enough. Then Allah is like, تَكَادُ تَمَيَّزُ مِنَ الْغَيْظِ. It is at this level that it is about to burst itself. When somebody becomes angry and they feel like this anger, they rip their clothes, they sometimes even do self-harm, but it's not they're like bleeding, but they're ready to hurt that other person. That stage is of a state of tamayyuz, that the person is ready to harm himself to let the other person know that I mean business. تكاد تميز من الغيظ, that its anger is so much that it's about to burst open. Now, the interesting word Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses is ghayz. In the Arabic language, you have ghadab, you have ghayz, then you have ghadab, then you have qahr. And they're levels. Ghayz is the first level. So Allah is like, imagine it has an ghayz is the level of anger that is all inside, and you have not allowed any of your jawarih, any of your limbs to express that anger. Controlled anger. Because it's an obedient creature of Allah. Yes, it has rage, but it's also listening to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that anger from inside, Allah is like, that inside it is boiling and it is ready to rip open and eat everyone. And that's the ghayth, that when you do not allow your deep down inside the anger, you do not allow that anger to be expressed with your hands and with your facial expressions, right? Its nature is that it's a very vicious creation. But the true ghadab, that expression of that anger and the limbs and qahr, when you cross all boundaries and you have no insaniya left, all of that is still there for Jahannam. But after they will be thrown in. Allah protect us, man. كلما ألقي فيها فوج. Again, how are they going to be thrown? The hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's a long hadith, but the summary of it is we're going to be thrown in groups. These are the kadhabin. These are the people who used to lie. May Allah protect us from that. These are the people who were the backbiters. These are the people who used to spread slander. These are the people. It doesn't matter how much power you have. It doesn't matter what you have. On that day, if we were known, and may Allah protect us from this, if we were known for something, right? And may Allah cure all of these diseases that we have in our hearts. If we got known for something in this dunya that is evil, then we are going to be with that camp. We're going to be with that camp. And then Allah is like, كُلَّمَا أُلْقِيَ فِيهَا فَوْجٌ. Whenever a group is going to be brought, okay, all of you liars, tossed. And every person, if you're a liar, you're going to have a special punishment. If you used to commit zina, you're going to have a special punishment. أُلْقِيَ فِيهَا فَوْجٌ سَأَلَهُمْ خَزَنَتُهَا. The keepers, this is not Malik. There are so many keepers of Jahannam. Malik is the leader, right? Ya Maliku. What's the ayah? اقضي اقضي لنا no, that's not. No, that's not the ayah. Ya Maliku ليقضي علينا ربك. Why don't you go and ask Allah that Allah finishes us? They're going to ask Malik, Khazin of Jahannam. You go and ask Allah, like, khalas, how much punishment Allah is going to give us? ليقضي علينا ربك. Let your Rabb just finish us. What is he getting out of this? Right? So these khazanatuha, these keepers, the descriptions of these keepers are so powerful that sometimes we don't realize. It is mentioned in the hadith that if one of the khazin of Jahannam, not Malik is way bigger than the khazins. If one of these keepers was to be pushed from one end of Jahannam to the other end, it will take him 80,000 years to reach the other end of Jahannam. But then you may ask, how thin or how wide is he? Because 80,000 years, but at what speed is it? Just you need to you don't. That's just one variable. The other variable is given to us in another hadith where it is mentioned that the angel, the khazin of Jahannam, that khazin, if a bird was to fly from one katif, from one shoulder to another, it would take that bird 100,000 years. And this is nothing. because the the angels of the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're so huge that one of them, uh, ismuhu Dik, his name is Dik, and he's like in a shape of a falcon, right? And it is mentioned that if he was to stand, and if he was to take one of his talons and place it in the earth, and if he was to stand, he would be touching the arsh of Allah with his head. So we cannot imagine these things. Like this is like, and these are all authentic hadiths. Like if I give you da'if hadith, your brain is going to be even more like, oh my God, like what is that? These are all like authenticated hadiths about the khazin of Jahannam. Or the other hadith where Allah's Prophet saw on Mi'raj 700 years of travel from just the shahmata udunay ila atiqay or katifay, two hadiths, that from here all the way to the shoulder, if the bird was to travel, a fastest bird was to travel for 700 years non-stop, it would still not reach the shoulder. Okay, so these are creations of Allah. So they're going to ask Khazin, imagine just being able to look at this creation and you're going to be in awe, right? And just so you understand this shock, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw Jibreel alayhi salam twice in his full form. The first time he saw him, he went in a shock. This is Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He came back because after that incident happened, he was coming down. He looked up and he saw Jibreel alayhi salam, and Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Whenever I would turn to the left and turn to the right, ara Jibreel." Like wherever I looked on the horizon, all I saw was Jibreel alayhi salam standing. Then Allah is like, وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ مَرَّةً أُخْرَى. And then he saw him a second time in his full form. The first time, the ulama, they say, when he came home and he said, Zammiluni, Zammiluni, it was not more about what happened in the ghar. It was more about he saw Jibreel alayhi salam in his actual form. And it was terrifying for him. So and Jibreel alayhi salam is one of the most beautiful angels. Khazin is not a beautiful angel. Right? So this Khazin asks, Alam ya'tikum nadhir? Did nobody come to you and warn you about this day? What are we going to answer? We all know. Every single one of us know deep down inside. Everybody knows there's adhab coming. Everybody knows that we're not supposed to be looking at this or that. We all know. Alam ya'tikum nadhir? Did nobody come to you to warn you? They're going to say, qalu bala. So over here, this qalu bala is more like, it's not like he's responding. The question of Khazin is a rhetorical question. I mean, we know that you got a messenger. We know that you had the Quran. We know that you had the Quran and you were a Muslim for 60, 50, 60, 70 years, and you learned all other languages, but you couldn't spend time trying to learn my Quran. We know the answers. So when they're going to say, qalu bala, it's not that. It's like sometimes, you ask somebody, like, did I not tell you not to do this? Like somebody made a mistake and you ask them this question. Why are you asking this question? You don't want an answer for him to say yes, yes. You already know, but you're saying it in a rhetorical sense for him to feel ashamed. And if he says yes, the answer was already yes. That yes is the affirmation of guilt. قالوا بلى. Bala. I mean, like, they're going to be like, this bala, this yes is going to come, as the ulama, as one of the alim he mentioned, Sheikh Sa'id Kamli, he mentions that, هذا الكلمة البلاء يأتي من طبقات الحسرات من داخل القلب. This is going to come from the deepest portions of their heart, filled with remorse that they cannot go back. لا يستطيعون الرجوع. They cannot go back. There's no way they can go back. قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير. We know that there was Quran. We know that there was Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We know that there was Deen. We knew that all of this was there. We knew that rizq is with Allah. All of that we knew, oh Allah. فكذبنا. But we didn't believe in it fully. Our actions, and the ulama, they say there's two tafsir of that. One is for a kafir, that كذبنا, I don't believe in the Quran. The second tafsir is the tafsir of a believer. Muslim, but amaluhu, his action, they denied the verses. We know that gold is haram. We know that gold is haram. I went to a meat shop to buy some meat. I usually don't go to meat shops. I buy my meat online. But, I needed meat immediately. And I was like, man, online you have to wait for 2 days and you have to plan your meat delivery and all of that. So I went, and mashallah, this brother had a full kangan of gold. And he's like, Assalamu Alaikum, brother, how are you? I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, I need to initiate this conversation because, I can't. So I said, how are you? Alhamdulillah. Oh, your car is from Ontario. I was like, oh, that's great. Yeah, I recently moved. It's been 1 year, but I'm like, yeah, I recently moved to Georgia. He's like, oh, from where? I'm like, Ontario. Wow, what do you do? I'm like, I'm an imam. Oh, I have a question for you. I'm like, is your meat fresh? That's my question. I don't care what your fiqh question is. So I give him an answer, and now I have an in. So I said to him, I said, you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created Jannah for us. And Allah is going to have certain types of meats that you and I have never imagined. The guy's like, subhanallah. I said, but there are also certain things that Allah has kept for us in Jannah. But if we enjoy them in this dunya, then we'll not get it. He's like, you mean like the gold? How do you tell this guy? Like he knows. Like he even knows that this is supposed to be only for Jannah. You mean like this gold? And subhanAllah, when I was preparing, I was like, فَكَذَّبْنَا. He knows the hadith. He knows this is for Jannah. But I will not follow it. So this كَذَّبْنَا is my action. May Allah protect us, right? قَالُوا بَلَا. They're going to say, Ya Allah, indeed. قَدْ جَاءَنَا نَذِيرٌ. A warner came to us. فَكَذَّبْنَا. We denied him. وَقُلْنَا. What did we say? مَا نَزَّلَ اللَّهُ مِن شَيْءٍ. It's not like they didn't say. They could have said, مَا نَزَّلَ اللَّهُ شَيْئًا. Allah didn't reveal anything. The ayah over here, it says, مَا نَزَّلَ اللَّهُ مِن شَيْءٍ. They said, their actions said, Allah has not revealed anything of such. Have you met those people? Yaar, ye kya 5 waqt ki namazein, like 5 salahs. Right? Where do you find it in the Quran? You meet these guys, right? And this is the new Qur'ani fitna that is happening in Pakistan. And then recently my dad was talking about some Qadiani fitna that happened this morning or something in Pakistan, where they reversed the opinion that Qadianis are Muslims or something like that. And there's a huge riots in Pakistan and stuff. Like, there are certain fundamental tenets of our faith. Believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and believe in Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And not just any belief. أنا خاتم الأنبياء لا نبي بعدي. I am the finality of messengers. There is no Nabi after. So, Qadianis or however much they want to call themselves Muslim, you're not a Muslim. Right? I was in this multi-faith, MFNN, multi-faith national network. So they invited me for some stuff. There's like 20 rabbis, all pastors. And then there was like 2 imams, me and Imam Rifat. And then there was this one guy. His name was Zain. He didn't look like Muslim, didn't dress like Muslim, but like he pretended to be Muslim. So we started talking, and he starts off, he says, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Mirza Ghulam Rasulillah. And I was like, La hawla wa la quwwata. What is this guy doing representing Islam? I've never heard that. Ala salatu salam ala Mirza Ghulam Rasulillah. I was like, yaar, joote maar. Like, you had to hit this guy with slippers, man. This guy is falaka. So I grabbed him after. I said, so you're a Muslim? He said, yes. I said, you do know that like Muslim is a person who has to believe that Prophet ﷺ is the final messenger. So you can be anything and I will accept you just like I accept the rabbis and the Christians, but you're not a Muslim. So don't confuse the world, because Muslim means you have to have Islam and faith. Those questions, these things, قُلْنَا مَا نَزَّلَ اللَّهُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. This statement that Allah has revealed nothing, this is absolute denialism. And that is what you're finding nowadays with a very selective group of people. The Ghamdi crowd in Pakistan. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, right? They're like they're like, oh yeah, we're only going to believe in the around 30 or 40 mutawatir hadiths. All other hadiths are false. The only mutawatir hadiths are those 30 hadiths, and I'm not a denier of hadiths. No. But I will only believe in the 30 hadiths or 40 hadiths, whatever mutawatir that they believe. And I wish it was. Arba'in Nawawi only has one mutawatir according to them. So, Ar-Rahimu yarhamuhum ar-Rahman or something like that. So, Al-Muhim, this statement is like what Allah is indicating, that these are people, they know Quran is there, they know Hadith is there, but they come up with new ideas and they pretend like ma nazzal Allahu min shay'in. Allah has not revealed any deen. And they create their own thing, right? Or the people who like to follow culture over deen. There's lots of places. When I was in South Carolina, I got to see a few glimpses of that. Right? Culture over deen. Culture, like cultural deen is that, this is our culture and this is how we have seen things in South Africa. So this is how we're gonna run the masjid. But whatever happened in South Africa happened in South Africa. You can't transport it to this country. This country has new norms, new ways. And as long as the deen does not have a hard and fast line on it, you have to have that flexibility, right? Because al-adat muhakkama. The normative behaviors, this is a fundamental principle of fiqh. The fundamental principle of fiqh is that normative behaviors of a society, as long as they don't blatantly contradict with Sharia, they are legislative in our Islam. So anyhow, these are the ayat that they use. And what do they say? قُلْنَا مَا نَزَّلَ اللَّهُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. And the angels respond, إِنْ أَنْتُمْ إِلَّا فِي ضَلَالٍ كَبِيرٍ. You were indeed in a very, very big and grave error. Huge mistake that you have made. You were misguided, ضَلَالٍ كَبِيرٍ. وَقَالُوا, they are going to say, actually we'll stop over here. We'll stop here because actually we can do this. Let me finish this. وَقَالُوا, and they're going to say, لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير. So they're going to blame now their aql. Right? On that day they're going to say, وَقَالُوا, they're going to say, لو كنا نسمع, if we had actually paid attention to the message of the Quran. أو نعقل, and we had used the actual aql, not what we thought was intellectual aql. Oh, somebody did a PhD and mashallah, now he thinks that he has an opinion on every ayah in the Quran or everything in the Quran, right? Like I met this doctor, he's like, I think, this ayah did not do justice to Rasulullah. I'm like, yeah, Habibi, this is ayah of the Quran. Like, who are you to quantify it? Like, who are you? Seriously. Why? Because sometimes we think that just because I've gotten some degree, I have all of a sudden now some intellectual capacity to objectively judge Quran. And this is something that the ulama, they say, and then this is a chapter of Aqidah, but like I'm just going to allude to it. This is called Tahseen al-Aqli, where you believe that your aql is so great that now it can actually quantify and evaluate and subjugate the verses of Allah and the hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to my understanding. And this is one of the reasons why people become atheists. Okay, this is the you know, اعلم أن أصول الكفر ستة. Know that the foundations of why somebody becomes an atheist are six, and one of those that the author he mentions, that التحسين العقلي, that a person starts thinking his aql, Allah, my aql. And now Quran, oh, this is not making sense. This is not making sense. Literally, I was in the parking lot right now. I came a little bit early, and the Imam was talking to me. And some woman came to him and said, Imam, you know what? This ayah, you know, the two witnesses of the woman, this is not fair. So the Imam Jawad was like, Habibti, yani, like, this is Quran, like, Radit am abayt, yani, this is Allah. Allah said there's going to be two witnesses, right? أن تضل إحداهما فتذكر إحداهما الأخرى. If one of them forgets, then let the other remind. This is the Quran. La, 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 but yani, this is not befitting of Allah subhanahu. I think this ayah is not from the Quran. Like literally, and he was like, and the only reason this woman is arguing with me is because she's a cancer specialist. So she thinks because I'm a doctor and I'm a cancer specialist and I have this thing and I work in this posh hospital in Atlanta downtown or something, St. Joseph or something, I have an opinion about this ayah of the Quran. On that day, Allah is like, قالوا, they're gonna say, all such people, لو كنا نسمع, if we really heard the Quran and allowed the Quran to penetrate in our hearts, أو نعقل, or at least we should have looked at it purely objectively with intellectual capacity, ما كنا في أصحاب السعير, we would not have become companions of hellfire. فاعترفوا بذنبهم, they're going to confess to their sins. فسحقا لأصحاب السعير. So Allah, this statement is like Allah is like ending the chapter. فسحقا, get them away from me. فسحقا, like बहुत होगी बात, enough talking about them. Get them away from me. فسحقا لأصحاب السعير, the companions of hellfire, the companions of this blaze, just get them away from me. Enough talking about them. Let's move on to the next topic. And that's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shifts to the believers, where he says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُم. So inshallah we'll talk about that in our next class. بإذن الله تعالى. بارك الله فيكم. If you have any questions related to this, please do ask. Anything else? Nope. جزاكم الله خيرا. بارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Salam.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. ها؟